Hi viewers, welcome back to the second episode of a new series, part 1. I know there's been a lot of gap between the first episode and second. The reason being that my family, 2 members were down with COVID, and so we were on isolation and we are not able to come back to you at the speed that we would have wished for. But as being the theme of a new series is to just discuss the positive things, and we are going to bring to you a lot of news items which are very critical and positive from an Indian perspective on the international front, the national, state, technology, defense, and a whole lot of things. So just sit back and enjoy. The first thing on the international scene is that the pandemic has caused a lot of realignment on the international alliances. The first item that we were going to talk is about a follow-up from what happened the last time. Last time we talked about UAE normalizing their relationship with Israel, while this time what has happened, Bahrain has also gone on board and it has normalized its relationship with Israel. Why is Bahrain, which is seen as a small country, so critical? Because Bahrain is a very close ally of Saudi Arabia, and it's perceived by a lot of people that now Saudi Arabia will be the third country that will normalize the relationship with Israel. And we all know that the key religious sites of the Islamic countries are in Saudi Arabia, and therefore Saudi Arabia is seen as the leader amongst all the OIC countries. And if it normalizes ties with Israel, I think it's going to play out very positively. US as a country is pushing Saudi Arabia to get into an alignment with Israel. It could play out positively for India because from an energy security point of view, Middle East is still the major contributor for our petroleum supplies. India has a very strong human resource capital and Israel has got the technology. It is seen by a lot of countries that what will evolve over a period of time is a trilateral kind of an arrangement between Israel, India and Middle East. That's going to play out positively for India. The second thing is Saudi Arabia has pulled out of China, where they had an agreement to invest close to 10 billion in an oil refinery. The reason quoted by Saudi Arabia is the pandemic has caused the oil prices to be depressed, and so they are pulling out. But we all know the reason as to why they are pulling out. People are a little bit cagey and slightly worried about the tough stance China is taking on its territorial expansion, and also with respect to the disturbance it is causing to all the states which are sharing the border both through the maritime and the land borders. US has taken a very strong view on this, and they have come up with a lot of restrictions on products made in Xinjiang, which has a substantial population of Uyghurs, and they have quoted the reason they have quoted is the atrocities that is perpetuated on a minority group of people. And why is this very significant to India? Is that because 85% of the cotton that is grown in China comes from this particular region, and it also makes a lot of hair products. Now India has traditionally been a cotton growing country, and we also have substantial amount of hair products related industry. Because we have this habit of, at least the South Indians have the habit of offering their hair as a way of thanksgiving to the deities, and we have a established industry towards this. So this a little bit of orders getting diverted from there can be of use to India. And US has recently appointed a very senior official for overseeing the Tibetan issues. Now this position has come in after almost a 4-year lull, so they didn't have anyone on this on this post for 4 years. Now what are we trying? What is happening in the world is that slowly the authoritarian regime of China is being questioned on all the fronts. So there are two major ethnic minorities which were suppressed. One thing were the Uyghur Muslims, and then you had the Tibetan Buddhists. And both these places, now slowly the world is standing up, and United States is showing the leadership by trying to now put a person who is going to exclusively focus on this. And recently we had this very disturbing news where the Tibetans were asked to alter their pastoral lifestyle and forced to getting into a military kind of a structured lifestyle. So a change, I think people have choices to live the way they want, but trying to force a change on them definitely doesn't go well with a lot of Western countries. So there is a little bit of awareness and activism by most states coming into this, and China obviously has hit back with certain kind of restrictions on their export list, and they have put certain items like drones, 3D printers and laser items on the restricted export list to US. It's a quid pro quo, but I think the world is slowly coming up to realizing the ill effects of being too dependent on China for most of the supplies. India also had a very successful Quad meeting happening in Japan, where the foreign minister from India, Australia and Japan, and of course you had the US representative coming there, Mike Pompeo, and this is going to be very positive for India, because what's happening is we are trying to create an alternate kind of a system where the South Asian Sea, the Indian Ocean and even Bay of Bengal, because China has supplied some submarines and defense items to Bangladesh. So these are kind of addressed jointly by these four countries. Earlier in New Delhi also signed a mutual logistic pact with Japan, which actually means that the navies can use each other's bases, and Japan would be happy to use the Andamans for their refueling. We have a little bit of history with Andamans and Japan, because Japan had actually occupied Andamans during the World War II. Of course, it came back to India after they lost the war, but Andamans being a strategically important island for refueling both on air and navy warships for any country that passes through the Malacca Straits. We already have this kind of an agreement with Australia and US, and in fact very recently US had refueled its aircraft in Port Blair Airport. It's a very small airport but strategically very important. On the same lines, India and UK are in the final stages of signing a defense logistics sharing pact, which will enable reciprocal use of bases and airfield for fuel supplies and spares. Now UK has a lot of bases across the world, and we have to remember that at one point of time India was colonized by UK, and now we are almost talking on equal terms. It's a very proud moment for us, but Indian Navy and Air Force will be greatly benefited if this defense pact goes through. The second set of items that are happening is more in and around the Indian subcontinent. The Sri Lankan Foreign Secretary Jayant Colombage says that for the first time it has come out publicly and had said that it will be pursuing an India first policy with respect to their foreign affairs. It will protect he has come out and said that it will always protect India's strategic interest. And for the first time, I think we have a very senior person from the Sri Lankan administration who has come out and says that the Hambantota port was a mistake, and it was always a thorn in the Indian flesh, because you had the Chinese having an access in very close proximity. It's on the southern tip of Sri Lanka. And this is definitely a very clear sign of thaw in the relationship. The government had been actively engaged with the Sri Lankan government ever since the new government has come. And for people who don't know, the current president of Sri Lanka has had his higher defense education course in Wellington in India, and he and our central minister, who was an ex-army chief, General V.K. Singh, were actually course-mates. So this is definitely a thaw in our relationship. And the second development which interestingly took place was the Indian defense minister, when he was coming back from the SCO meeting, or defense ministers meeting. What is SCO? It's Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And when he was coming back from the meeting from Moscow, where he had met the Chinese and the Russian defense minister, he had a stopover in Tehran. Now, why is this significant? Because India's relationship with Tehran was recently a little bit disturbed because Iran actually went back on the offer to develop a railway link between Chabahar port to Afghanistan, and there was a little bit of disturbance because there was substantial amount of investments coming from China into Iran. Now this meet is now expected to set right or reclaim a lot of the earlier agreements that we had with respect to Tehran, because Chabahar port is crucially very important to India, because it is very close to the port which is the end of the China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is the Gwadar port, and Chabahar port is very close to that, and having access to that will not only give us an unhindered access to Afghanistan and other stans, it will also be of strategic importance with respect to being very close to Gwadar. The other two important developments that has happened was the Foreign Secretary of India, Harshvardhan Shringla, suddenly made a surprise visit to Bangladesh. Bangladesh. This was not a planned trip, but he had to suddenly make a quick trip to Bangladesh. It set a lot of tongues rolling and wagging. It has to be seen in light of the fact that of late China has been pushing Pakistan to have a deeper collaboration with Bangladesh, and the fact that Bangladesh has already been handed over two submarines by China, and therefore we had to get back on an even keel with Bangladesh. And some of the positive impacts of this visit has been that the resumption of fish trade with Bangladesh has happened, and our Bengali brothers and sisters, they love the Padma Ilish, as they call the fish, which is a local delicacy. We have also had a foreign secretary and army chief visiting Myanmar. This is of great strategic importance because Myanmar in the recent time was seen to be very close to China. But what had happened was recently Myanmar discovered that some of their rebel armies, that's the Arakan army and the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, were actually being funded and equipped with military hardware by China. So that was not taken very kindly by the Myanmar administration, and they have moved closer to India. This is the first time a foreign secretary and an Indian army chief visited. Following this, India has agreed to supply artillery guns, ammunition, T-72 tanks, and sonars, and almost 500 bulletproof jackets to the military junta in Myanmar. And we have very recently delivered a retrofitted submarine, which is almost 30 years old submarine, to Myanmar, and Myanmar needed it because Bangladesh recently picked up two submarines, and for them it was very important to have the underwater capability to at least match Bangladesh. That was a very important event that we had. And to end the international roundup, Canada cancels a COVID vaccine co-development program with a Chinese pharmaceutical company called CanSino. It has quoted the delay in supply of drugs as a reason. But once again, we all know the reason, that the world is trying to get away from China. That could strategically play stronger for India. Viewers, stay connected with us. With this, we finish the international roundup. We are going to shortly have the second part of the second episode of ANU, where we will connect with you on the national, state and other policies. Wait for a few days. You will have the second part coming up shortly. Watch it, enjoy it, and please continue to give us your feedbacks. Thank you and good day to you.